Chapter 45 of Shrimadbhagavatam, Prithu the Great. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Some time passed. Since there was no king to rule the country, robbers and thieves found it a good opportunity to loot the city. Once, when the rishis were sitting on the banks of the river Saraswati, they found a cloud dust at a distance. Curious as to what it was caused by, they investigated and found that the dust was raised by a band of robbers who were riding back after looting the city, which was without a lord. The rishis knew how wrong it was for a country to be without a ruler. They realized that they had, to an extent, been responsible for the present state of affairs, and they felt that they should do something to save the people from this series of misfortune, the rule of a bad king, and on top of that, the fear of robbers. The rishis knew that Sunita, the wife of Anga, had been so fond of her son that she would not let his body be cremated. She had preserved it with medicinal herbs and by some magical powers which she possessed. They went to her and asked for the body of Vena. The rishis now churned the thigh of the body, and out of it came a dark and ugly person who was the personification of the evil that was in Vena. This newly born person was called Nishadha, and his descendants were also called Nishadhas later on. The rishis then proceeded to churn the right arm of the body and the left arm also. Out of them were born a man and a woman. They were the incarnations of Narayana and Lakshmi. The rishis adored them and said, "This man will be named Prithu, and she will be Archis. They will be man and wife, and the world will be glorious because of the rule of this king Prithu." Brahma and the other devas came down to the earth to honor the great event, the birth of Prithu. When Prithu was born, heavenly music was heard. The Siddhas rained flowers on earth. All the Devarshis and Devas led by Brahma came down to the earth to see the newly born child. Brahma looked at the right hand of the child and said, "Lo, this child is born with the mark of the chakra in his hand, and the sign of the lotus is found on his feet. He is the incarnation of Narayana, who has taken this form to protect the world." When he was old enough for it, Prithu was crowned as king. Everyone brought a gift for the new king. Even the rivers, oceans, mountains, trees, cows, birds, deer brought gifts. The sky and the earth and all living beings brought him gifts. Prithu glowed on the throne, wet with the waters of the holy rivers, which were poured on him when he was anointed. He had Archis by his side. The Devas brought him gifts. They were their personal belongings. Kubera, the lord of the north, lord of the Gandharvas, brought for him a beautiful seat. Varuna brought an umbrella which was white like the moon. The god of wind, Vayu, gave him chamaras, while Dharma's gift was a garland. Indra gave him a crown and Yama a sceptre by name Sanya Manam. Brahma had brought for him an armor protected by Vedas, and Saraswati, the goddess of learning, gave him a string of pearls. Narayana gave him a chakra and his wife wealth. Rudra gave a sword and Parvati a shield. The moon gave horses as white as nectar, and Twashtar a beautiful chariot. Agni gave a bow and the sun arrows like his rays. The earth gave him sandals which would carry him wherever he wanted to go. The heavens sent him flowers from their gardens every day. The Devas' gift was dance, music, sweet instruments, the power to become invisible at will. The rishis gave their blessings. The sea yielded up her conches for the king, while the rivers gave him pathways across them whenever he wanted to cross them. The Vandis, Sutas, and Magadhis began to praise him in glorious terms. He smiled at them, and raising his voice, which was as beautiful as the rumbling of a rain cloud, he said, "Please forbear from praising me like this with your sweet words. I am yet no wise in the art of ruling. I have not yet proved myself to be fit enough to hear the praises which you are trying to shower on me. Please praise the Lord and not me. When I really prove to be a good king, you can then praise me as much as you please. Not now. And again, when such great and celebrated people, more deserving of your words of praise, are assembled here, it is not right that I should be the subject of your eulogy. No man who is really humble will dare to accept praises in anticipation of possessing the qualities mentioned. Even if a man is great, efficient, famed all the world over, still a humble man will not allow praises to be sung in his presence. Please do not continue this recital of my glory, which is highly embarrassing. When he was crowned as king, the rishis called him Prithu the Great, the protector of the world. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Chapter 46 of Shrimadbhagavatam, Prithu's anger. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Prithu was crowned as the king of the land, and the gods had called him the protector of the world. The king took the words seriously, and he found that he had a difficult task ahead of him. He found that his subjects were all thin and extremely weak. They were underfed, undernourished, and this was a painful state of affairs. The subjects spoke to him, and they said, "My lord, please give us food. Like a tree is burnt by the fire concealed in its hollows, we are slowly consumed by the fire of hunger. Our vitals are the suffering, and we are unable to do our work. Give us food. We have been told that the rishis churned the old king, and you were born out of his body to protect us. Please save us from this hunger which is killing us." Prithu pondered for a moment, and he realized the cause of their hunger. He realized that the earth had swallowed up all the nourishing and health-giving seeds and would not give them up, would not let them grow. Prithu was very angry with her for this act of hers, and he decided to punish her. He took up his divine bow and sent an arrow to hurt the earth. Mother Earth became frightened, and taking the form of a cow, fled from him. With her tail raised aloft, with her legs trembling because of her panic, Earth rushed all over the surface of the earth. With his eyes red with anger, Prithu pursued her wherever she went. She ran down the slopes of the mountains. She fled into the valleys. She ran towards the thickets and dense forests, hoping to escape from him. Still, he pursued her relentlessly. Wherever she went, the earth looked back and found him following her with his bow bent. She could find no one to protect her. Finally, she came to him and fell at his feet. She said, "Please protect me. You are a righteous king, and you should not harass a woman like this. You know that it is wrong to kill a woman. Even if she is guilty, a woman should not be killed. Yet, you are trying to kill me, and I have not done you any harm. And again, if you destroy me, how are you going to establish your kingdom?" Prithu said, "You have been in the wrong, Mother Earth. That is why I am trying to punish you. In the yajnas which are performed by men, your share of the harvest is given to you, and in return you are not giving us food. You are not doing your duty, and I have to punish you. In the form of a cow, you eat grass every day, and you do not give us milk. You are selfish. You have dared to ignore my rule. You are hiding within yourself the health-giving herbs which Brahma gave you long ago. My subjects are all suffering from hunger, and they have to be comforted. Anyone who does not think of the good of others, be he man or woman, should be killed by a king, and this killing will not be considered as a sin. I know Dharma Shastra, and you do not have to teach me the nuances of it. I will have no qualms in killing you, and I will feed my subjects with your flesh. As for you, kingdom with my yoga, I will be able to establish it. His angry brows and his thunder-like voice and the bow which was still drawn made the earth tremble. She said, I know you to be the Lord of Lords. You have created me so that I can be the home of living and non-living things. You have made me the mother of all these. If you then take arms against me, who will help me? When I was buried deep under the sea in the nether world, you are the one to lift me up and establish me firmly above the oceans. That same Varaha is you, and you have taken a human form to protect me and my children. And yet, what do I see? My Lord and Master is threatening to kill me with a dreadful arrow in his hand. The ways of the Lord cannot be understood by ignorant persons like me. Please have compassion on me. Please listen to me and my plea. A bee collects honey from different flowers, drop by drop, and it makes its own honey. This needs so much of effort on the part of the bee. A wise man collects truths from different people and different places. He assimilates them all makes the wisdom his own. Even so, to get the best out of me, great effort is needed. The rishis had stipulated several tasks for men to get the best out of this world, and several rituals and yagas to become fit for the next world. Those who have followed this right path, those who have followed these rules set by the ancients, sincerely have been able to reap the benefits. When the men were all righteous, they were doing what the rishis had stipulated. But then, as time passed, sinners like Vena began to rule me. Sinfulness became rampant on my surface. Thieves and unjust kings began to harass me, and there was no one to protect me. Ignored as I was by everyone, I realized that the herbs and the other precious plants which Brahma had given me as gifts were being used by unworthy men. I decided that the men on the earth were not fit enough to taste my seeds and my herbs, and so I swallowed them. You are right when you say that I have hidden them. They do not grow on my surface anymore. It is not up to you to get the best out of me. It is now up to you to get the best out of me. If you use the proper technique, you will be able to get them all out of me. Provide me with a calf which will make me yield milk. Provide yourself with a proper vessel into which the milk can be drawn. Look for the man fit enough to milk me. Level the surface of me so that the rains from the heavens will stay on my surface and not flow away, leaving me arid. Prithu stood listening to the words of Mother Earth. The arrow dropped out of his hand and the bow slipped from his shoulder unheeded. His eyes became thoughtful. He told her, You are right, Devi. It is up to me to find a way of getting the best out of you. Man had been asked to work. He had been asked to plow you, plant seeds in you, and tend the growth of plants in you. The heavens had to send the rains in the proper seasons, and then man's patience would be rewarded by you gladly. And man has been forgetting your worth. He has taken you for granted. Like Mother Earth in patience is a proverb which has been in use since ever so long. When such a mother has lost her patience, then the world has become really a sinful place. Do not grieve. I will set it right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Chapter 47 of Shrimadbhagavatam, The Milking of Mother Earth. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. After long deliberation, Prithu made Manu the calf, and he was himself the milker. He milked out of her all the herbs and seeds which were needed for his subjects. He then told everyone that they could all get what they wanted out of her if they were able to get the proper calf and the proper one to milk her. The wise ones then milked knowledge out of her. The rishis made Brihaspati their calf and milked the Vedas. The vessel which held this milk was made up of the powers of speech and hearing and the mind. Indra was the calf whom the Devas selected. They used a golden vessel to get nectar. Mental strength, virya, strength of the senses, ojas, and physical strength, bala. Daityas and Dhanavas brought as their calf Prahalada, and the wines named Sura and Asava were milked into an iron vessel. The Gandharvas had a vessel made of lotuses, and they, with the Apsaras, made their calf to be Vishwa Vasu, and music was the milk they got out of her. Music which was sweet to the ears and which was composed with beautiful words. In an unburnt earthen vessel, the Pitris, with Aryama as their calf, milked Ghavya, food for the mains, out of her. Kapila was the calf for the Siddhas, who milked out of her the Siddhis. Anima and the Vidya Dharas obtained the power to wander at will in the sky. Kim Purushas milked Maya out of her, and the calf was Maya. Yakshas, Rakshasas, Bhutas, and Pishachas made Rudra their calf, the skull as their vessel, and they asked for wine mixed with blood. The reptiles had Takshaka as their calf, and out of the earth they milked poison. Their vessel was the snake pit. The cows had the bull for their calf, and they got plenty of grass for themselves. The calf chosen by the trees was the people tree, and the milk they obtained from the earth was the life-giving sap. The mountains milked conchs and the precious things out of her, and Himavan was their calf. Each one and everyone got what he wanted out of her. The best of each group was the calf for them. Prithu was so pleased with the earth and her bounty, her unstinting gifts, that he made her his beloved daughter. It is since then that Mother Earth began to be called Prithvi. With the tip of his bow, Prithu crushed and crumpled the tops of the mountains, filled up the ravines on the surface of the earth, and leveled her. He was the first king that ever won the hearts of the people, and from his time, kings have been called Rajas. Ranj means to charm. Ranjayati iti Raja. Prithu was the Adi Raja. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Chapter 48 of Shrimadbhagavatam, 99 Ashwamedhas. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. At a certain spot upon the banks of the river Saraswati can be discerned a bend in the river. Here, the river changes her course and begins to flow towards the east. It is here that the other celestial river, Drishadvati, joins her and flows along with her. The two rivers enclose a piece of land. The Devas considered it sacred and called it Brahma Vartha. On the holy spot, King Prithu decided to perform 100 Ashwamedhas. When they heard about the decision of the king, everyone brought the necessary things as gifts. The earth took the form of a cow and poured into the Yagnashala all that was needed. Like the sacred Havis, milk, butter, and other sacred articles. The rivers flowed into the Yagnashala carrying the juices of the sugarcane and the grape. The trees gave fruits filled with honey. The seas brought precious stones, and the mountain 4 different types of edibles. All the guests came with their hands laden with gifts for the king. Narayana, Mahadeva, Brahma, the Dikpalakas, the great rishis from the heavens, Gandharvas and Apsaras were all there in the Yagnashala. 99 yagnas were completed. Indra was becoming Indra because he had performed 100 Ashwamedas, whose other name is Sahat Shatakrutu. Shatakrutu became worried about the security of his position. He was also jealous of the glory of Prithu, whose praises were sung everywhere. He could not brook the fact that a mere mortal could be more wonderful than himself. Indra therefore decided to disturb the yajna and the fulfillment of the 100th yajna. While the yajna was in progress, Indra assumed the guise of a Pashandi and stole the sacrificial horse. The disguise was almost an armor, since it gave everyone the impression that he was a sadhu, a holy man. The son of Prithu got ready to chase the thief and rescue the horse. The sage Atri pointed out to the prince Indra was with the horse. The young man rushed to give a chase to the thief. When he went near, he saw a mendicant dressed in saffron robes, with his hair all matted and with his form covered with ashes. The young prince thought that he was chasing a saint by mistake and did not hurt him with his arrows. When he came back, Atri said, "Child, this man who has stolen your horse is Indra, who is unfit to be a deva. The only way to punish him is to kill him. Do not hesitate to do so." Once again the prince pursued the divine offender. Indra vanished from his sight, leaving the horse behind. Triumphantly, the young man led the horse into the Yagnashala, and the people were so pleased with his great achievement that he was from then on called Vijitashva. Once again, Indra tried his tricks. A sudden darkness fell on the Yagnashala, and Indra, under cover of this, stole the horse along with the chain of gold which was used to bind it to the stake. Atri showed him to the spectators. Again he was dressed as a mendicant, and again Vijitashva was deceived into believing that he was a holy man. Again, incited by Atri, and again furious because he had been so easily deceived, Vijitashva sent his scorching arrows towards Indra. Indra abandoned the horse and vanished once again. These tactics of Indra were having an adverse effect on the people. His guise was so attractive and deceptive. They looked so charming and were apt to create the impression of holiness which was not there. People began to use them, adopt them for their use, to serve their purposes. Hypocrites and false saints began to wander on the face of the earth, and no one could see the difference between the true and the false. Prithu saw all this and was very angry with Indra. He took up his bow and arrows. When they saw his anger, the Ritviks stopped him from drawing his bow. They said, "It is not done, O king. You are the performers of the sacrifice, and you are not allowed to kill unless it is sanctioned by the rites. However, with our powerful mantras, we will summon Indra to the Yagnashala, and we will sacrifice him in the fire." "So be it," said Prithu. They were about to begin the incantations when Brahma intervened and said, "What you propose is not right. This Indra, whom you are trying to summon in order to sacrifice him, is an avatara of Narayana and should not be insulted by you. Yagna, the son of Akuti, and Swayambhu Manu's grandson, is the Indra for that Manvantara, and the Lord took the form of Yagna for this purpose. Now, look on the terrible consequences of Indra's disguises. He has created for the benefit of sinners this Pashindi guise, which will nurture sin and deceit. Let there not be an increase in this sinfulness. Indra wanted to prevent you from performing the 100th Yagna, since he thought you would then become his equal. You must forget this ire against Indra. You are both avatars of Narayana. Should you not be friends? Forget the fact that there was an interruption to the Yagna. Let not your mind be troubled with anger, because anger is the surest emotion to ruin the equipoise of man. Man will become deluded The moment he gives way to anger, listen to me. The Devas are quite obstinate. They will keep on trying to disturb the yajna, and dharma on the face of the earth is in danger of being destroyed because of the many guises adopted by Indra and copied by men. These guises attract hypocrites, and a man's basic honesty may become eclipsed. Forget this anger against Indra. As for the completion of the 100th yajna, we will grant you the favor. We will consider it has been completed by you. Prithu listened to the words of Brahma. His anger against Indra vanished. Indra, ashamed of his small mindedness, had the grace to fall at the feet of Prithu. The king of the earth embraced the king of the heavens. Years passed. Prithu found that he was getting old. He left the kingdom with his sons and went to the forest with his wife. After spending some time in the wandering about all the holy spots, he finally knew that the time had come when he had to abandon his earthly frame. He settled down in a hermitage and observed the yoga which would grant him release. When she found that he had abandoned his body, Archis, his wife, prepared a funeral fire, and she entered it along with her lord Prithu. The earth got her name Prithvi because he had adopted her as his daughter. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnarpanamastu.